So just want to salute everybody and thank you for tuning into the Midnight Mirage and Masjid of Higher Learning. And of course, it's your boy Blackbeard. And I hope that all the ladies and gentlemen out there have been taking care of themselves and been growing and just staying true to the game. So before, getting ready to prepare to make this tape, I was just doing some, meditation and was reviewing 2020. This year was very, very interesting, had a lot of different events going on. But one of the primary themes that I saw in this year was there was a great divide in a lot of things, and a lot of friends and families throughout the world, and you also see it going on right now in this, quote unquote country from this different presidential election. And outside of that, just, it's just a lot of divisions going on right now. And honestly, it's a very, very good thing because you want to know the wheat and the tares. You want to know who's there for you and who's not. And that's what 2020 also has been about. Whenever it's a time of trouble, you're going to be able to see who's going to be of service. You're going to be able to see who's loyal, and you're going to be able to see who really cares. And a lot of you all probably got to see that this year. So, just taking all that into consideration, it made me want to visit the subject between the divide between the houses of Judah and Israel after Solomon's death. Because in prior tapes, we went into the vision of Solomon and Solomon getting the knowledge that there was a man, or an entity rather, that wanted to take the image of a Shemitic Israelite and a just, righteous, noble man. But in reality, he was an evil man and he wanted to do harm to people. And this thing was very, very shocking to Solomon. And because of this, he made a prayer that his whole kingdom would fall. And this story was found in the Quran. It's not necessarily in the Bible, but what you're going to find in the Bible or the Old Testament in the Book of Kings is you're going to find the story of what actually happened in the material universe or the physical world that was the result of King Solomon's prayer. And the result of that was not only the kingdom of Israel falling, but the actual details and background story to it. Okay. So that's what we're going to visit today. But, we're going to read about that story. But just keep in mind, though, also just the divide that you see going on in just the whole world right now. And just think about it in your personal life. Who do you think is really there for you and who's not? Because that's just a question we should all be asking ourselves right now. Because believe it or not, a lot of the people that you think going to be able to help you and that's there for you are not for you. And a lot of people that you don't even know, or even people that you think wouldn't help you, actually would help you. Okay. So it's a lot of paradoxes going on, but that's how I know that this is one of the fitness of the the day and age that we're in. The fitna of the divide, the great divide. Okay. And this story is told in the Book of Kings. Now, before we move forward, I've had people come in comment sections and say things like, well, is Abraham a real man? Is Solomon a real man? Or is David a real man? We don't really want to focus on that. What we want to focus on is just the archetype template, of the man or the story. And we want to see if we can connect that to something that we have going on. And we want to move forward. All right. So we don't want to really get lost in all that. Let's just stay focused on really the scholarship and the learning. We don't want to really get caught up in that type of stuff. So what we're going to do, too, is before we go in this, I do want to give you a little bit about a personal thing with me, I'll say. In this year, of course, on January 1st, I didn't know a lot of these things were going to happen. But when they happened, I could say that I was prepared mentally and emotionally and spiritually because of just how I carry myself every day, that when a lot of those, crazy events start taking off this year, I was able to be of service, you know what I'm saying, and be able to help people. And that made me feel very, very good, feel very, very good. So I can say that, now that we're going towards the end of the year, if I had to ask, if somebody asked me what area did I grow in this year in my life, I would say that I grew to a very, very high level of leadership, almost like a 5-star general level of leadership now that I was not at last year. I can honestly say the leadership skills have been much, much, much improved. It's at a very, very potent, high level, intense level too. So, that's something else that we should evaluate about ourselves. What areas did we improve and strengthen on this year that we may have not been good at, or I'll say we were not as good at in prior years when we were younger. So it's the area of leadership, for me personally. But also, too, leadership is also how the kingdom of Israel started to fall as well, because once Solomon started to, build temples to a lot of these false idols, just to not only please his strange wives, but also to please the men who lived in these various nations that he was doing business with. This started to allow the people of his own community's minds to become poisoned, because while Solomon was living this way and allowing these different practices to happen in Jerusalem, the people around him started to live this way as well. Because once the king starts to live in his lower self, then the people of the court start to live in their lower self. And once the people of the castle start to live in their lower self, then the people of the, common community start to live in their lower selves. And this started to happen in both the southern and the northern kingdom of Israel. And this is before the total divide. OK, so when Solomon got that image of the Dajjal, or that false leader sitting on his throne, a lot of that came from, him being in his elder years, and a lot of the, maybe wrong choices he was making in his life. He was starting to see some of the results of them, because something in Islam that I see that they have is they think that the prophets could do no wrong and that they could make no mistakes. And a lot of the stories in the Old Testament, certain wrongdoings that the prophet did, they'll try to say that the man didn't do it or something like that. Whereas, I'm not really under that impression. Those men weren't perfect, or those archetype people weren't perfect. And it's more realistic that they would make mistakes in different areas of their lives. It shows, more of the reality of it, to me at least. So Solomon, one of his problems was his leadership got a little it got weak towards the end. And this is what allowed his sons and different people to see that, okay, well, if Solomon is ruling this way, then it'll be okay if I rule this way as well. So, hold on real quick. Let me go get my pencil. I need to write something down. All right, I apologize and appreciate you sticking with me. All right, so now we're going to go into our reading. And, everybody has more than likely a Bible and a Quran they can get their hands on. So if you want that story about Solomon and that vision of the Dajjal, that's in the Quran, of course. I've talked about that in previous tapes, so, go back and visit those. And if you want this story of the actual details of how the kingdom of Israel fell in the material world, then you can get that from the book of Kings, 1 Kings, coming out of chapter 11. And that's what we're going to be reading from, starting in verse 28. So once again, we're going into the division and the divide of the kingdom of Israel and Judah, which is basically the same thing you've seen happen right here in the New World with the divisions in so-called black community, because a lot of so-called black people are getting tired of a lot of these far leftist liberal ideologies. A lot of us are starting to realize that we need to consolidate amongst ourselves. We need to start to learn a little bit more about who we are, and we need to conserve, preserve, and reserve for ourselves. See, that's what a true Algonquin, indigenous, Moorish American, homegrown American is. It's one who wants to preserve, reserve, and conserve for themselves. Let me say that one more time. A true homegrown American is one who wants to conserve for Americans. They want to reserve for Americans, and they want to preserve for Americans. So they want to, keep what we have good. So one day we can pass it on to our sons and daughters and our grandchildren. We want to conserve what we have, meaning like not use all our resources and just use them for each other and share them with each other and help each other out, because we want to see our own people flourish. And we want to reserve what we have, because at the end of the day, we only want to help people who going to help us. So as of right now, you're having a lot of so-called black people who are starting to want to practice more of that type of culture. And then you got the other brain dead, just niggas out here that's still singing WAP and dancing to the, Democratic Party, because they thinking, quote unquote, Joe Biden and quote unquote Kamala Harris is the new president and vice president. So you having that divide in Israel and Judah right there. Judah would be those prestigious elite of us, who really was in Jerusalem, that was actually reading the Quran and the Torah and trying to really figure all this shit out. And then you had them other silly niggas who really didn't give a fuck, So let's get into it. So we starting in chapter 11, verse 28. We're going to kind of bounce around, but y'all just stick with me. And the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor. And Solomon, seeing the young man that he was industrious, he made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Joseph. And it came to pass that at the time when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, that the prophet Ahijah, the Shilonite, found him in the way. And he had clad himself with a new garment, and they two were alone in the field. So this man Jeroboam was a man who was from northern Israel. Remember, Solomon rules in the south, and he was an industrious man. So Solomon saw that, okay, this man is, a pretty good worker. So he made him a leader, okay? And one day this man Jeroboam is walking, and this prophet sees him walking. So now he approaches him, and let's see what happened. And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him and rent it in 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and will give 10 tribes to thee. But he shall have 1 tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel. So right here, this prophet went up to this man Jeroboam, and he told him, let me see this garment you got on. And he took the garment and he tore it into 12 pieces. He gave the man Jeroboam 10 of them, and he kept 2 of them. And he basically told him that this is a symbol that the higher self, God Most High, is going to take the kingdom from Solomon for all the sins that Solomon has been doing. And then he's going to allow you to rule in the north with the 10 tribes, and the other 2 tribes are going to stay in the south. He told this to the man Jeroboam in a vision. Okay, so it wasn't a vision, it was in a prophecy. It hadn't happened yet. But this man Jeroboam is hearing it. Oh, man, like, one day I'm going to be the king, So let's keep going. So it says that, all right, let's keep going. It says that, and Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam. And Jeroboam arose and fled into Egypt unto Shishak, king of Egypt, and was in Egypt until the death of Solomon. All the rest of the acts of Solomon, and all that he did, and his wisdom, are they not written in the book of Solomon, the acts of Solomon? And the time that Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel was 40 years. And Solomon slept with his fathers and was buried in the city of David. And Rehoboam, his son, reigned in his stead. So right here, what you have is that this man Jeroboam has been told by this prophet that, hey, man, you're going to get the kingdom and you're going to rule 10 of them. And then one day Solomon catches wind of this. So Solomon said, no, I'm finna kill this nigga is what I'm finna do. So Jeroboam, hearing this, he goes and runs to Egypt and hides out in Egypt until Solomon dies. So then when Solomon dies, he returns. But at this time, Solomon's son, Rehoboam, is ruling now. So I know these names going to sound similar, but just keep this in mind. The name with the J, Jeroboam, he's going to be the ruler in the north. The name that starts with a R, Rehoboam, he's Solomon's son, and he's going to rule in the south. So just keep that in mind, all right? And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel were come to Shechem to make him king. And it came to pass that Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who was yet in Egypt, heard of it. They sent him and called him. And Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came and spake unto Rehoboam, saying, so now the man Rehoboam, who is the son of Solomon, that's now the new king in the south, he's sitting on the throne. The man Jeroboam, who had ran to Egypt, he heard, okay, Solomon's dead, so I can come back now. But when he came back, the people in the northern kingdom was like, man, Solomon been kind of tripping. We need you to go talk to his son now that he's dead, and tell his son, will he be more kind to us? So now Jeroboam in the north, with the people of the north, is going to go talk to Rehoboam, who's the ruler in the south. So they come to him and they say, thy father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make thou the grievous service of thy father, and his heavy yoke which he put upon us lighter, and we will serve thee. And he said unto them, depart yet for 3 days, then come again to me. And the people departed. So Jeroboam and the people of the northern Israel came to Rehoboam, Solomon's son, and they said, look, your father was very, very hard on us, with his laborious work system, because he had the people in the north working. And they was coming to him and was saying, like, now that you his son and you rule him, will you be kinder to us and not be as harsh as your father? So his son said, okay, y'all come back in 3 days and I'm going to give y'all an answer. So it says, and King Rehoboam consulted with old men that stood before Solomon his father while he yet lived, and said, how do ye advise that I may answer this people? And they spoke unto him, saying, if thou wilt be a servant unto this people this day, and will serve them, and answer them, and speak good words to them, then they will be servants forever. So Rehoboam, Solomon's son, he went to the elders and asked them, what do y'all think I should do? And they told him, they say, look, you should be kind to the people, because if you kind to them, they're going to be kind and they're going to have no problem serving you. All right. So it says, but he forsook the counsel of old men, which they had given him, and consulted with the young men that were grown up with him, and which stood before him. And he said unto them, what counsel give ye that we may answer this people, who have spoken to me, saying, make the yoke which thy father did put upon us lighter? And the young men that were grown up with him spoke unto him, saying, thus shalt thou speak this unto the people, thy father made our yoke heavy, but make it lighter unto us. Thus shalt thou say unto them, my little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins. I will add to your yoke. My father hath chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. So Rehoboam and all the people came to the king and on the 3rd day, as the king had appointed them, saying, come to me again the 3rd day. And the king answered the people roughly, and forsook the old men's counsel that they gave him. So what ended up happening is that Rehoboam, the king, when they came back and they asked him, they said, okay, you told us to come back. Are you going to make the workload lighter? Are you going to be a kinder king to us? He basically told them, fuck y'all. Not only am I going to whip y'all, but now I'm going to put iron, prongs on the end of the whips. So they're going to tear into y'all's backs now. So in other words, he came at them very, very harsh. And instead of him listening to the wisdom of the elders, who was actually not only living with Solomon and they saw how Solomon made mistakes, but they were just older, wiser men, so they weren't going to tell him nothing that was wrong. But instead, he listened to some guys that was around his age and some people that he grew up with, and also some people that he knew were going to be yes men and that was going to kiss his behind and tell him what he wanted to hear. So he didn't take the wise counsel, and he chose to basically be harsh to the people. All right. So it says, so when all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, What portion have we in David? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel, now see to thine own house, David. So Israel departed to their tents. But as for the children of Israel which dwelt in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. So what ended up happening is all the people in the north said, okay, if you want to be grimy like that, then we're going to just go back to the north. So the 10 tribes, they went to the north and basically branched off. And then Rehoboam, Solomon's son, he just continued to rule the 2 that was left in the south, which was Judah and Benjamin, I think. And the Levites too, I want to say. So it goes on to say, then King Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was over the tribute, and all Israel stoned him with stones, that he died. Therefore Rehoboam made speed to get him up to his chariot to flee to Jerusalem. So what ended up happening is Rehoboam sent a man to the north to get a tribute, and the Israelites in the north stoned him to death. So they killed one of the, people that he sent up there to get a tribute from them. So in return, he went and got his chariots to say, I'm finna go to war with these niggas. So after that, it says, and when Rehoboam was come to Israel, he assembled all the house of Judah with the house of Benjamin, and 300,000 chosen men, which were warriors, to fight against the house of Israel, to bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam, the son of Solomon. So again, when they broke off to the north, the son in the south was like, wait a minute, like, what y'all doing? I'm still the king. Like, no, I'm y'all under my allegiance and under my rulership. So he's like, no, y'all ain't gonna kill this man. I'm about to go up there and kick y'all's tail and make y'all basically serve me. So he got his, soldiers from the south ready to go to war. But the word of God came unto Shemaiah, the man of God, saying, speak unto Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, king of Judah, and unto all the house of Judah and Benjamin, and the remnant of the people, saying, thus saith the Lord, ye shall not go up and fight against your brethren, the children of Israel. Return every man to his house, for this thing is from me. You see? So God Most High basically sent a wise man to Rehoboam to tell him, like, hey, don't go up there trying to do that. This is the Most High doing this shit. And it's probably for something you really don't even understand, bro. So just fall back. So Rehoboam saw that and he fell back. Okay. So then it says, so now that man Jeroboam, who's in the north, now the people in the north, they're going to crown him the king of the north. All right. So it says, let's see what part we're going to go to. Here we are right here. Now you got to remember now. So also that prophet, he had told Jeroboam that not only are you going to get the kingdom in the north, but if you follow the way of the God Most High and don't make these same sins as Solomon, then you're going to be successful. Like you're going to have a good kingdom. Everything will be good, but just don't do no bullshit, bro. Like, don't fuck this up. It's pretty much what he told him. So now Jeroboam is in the north, and now he's going to go into his ego. So let's see what he does. So it says, and Jeroboam said in his heart, now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. If this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of the Lord at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people return unto their Lord, even unto Rehoboam, king of Judah, and they shall kill me and again go to Rehoboam, king of Judah. So then Jeroboam starts saying to himself in the north, like, wait a minute, these people may betray me and end up going back down in the south, because that's where the temple is. Because you got to remember, the temple was in Jerusalem, and it didn't matter where you lived at. Like when it came to certain festivals and feasts and things of that nature and certain business that had to be conducted, you had to come down to the temple, which was in Jerusalem. So he knew that just because the people branched off in the north, a lot of them were going to end up still going back down there just because, they like going to the temple. So he was like, no, I got to set up something up here. So it says that, whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 golden calves, so 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And he set the one in Bethel and the other he put in Dan. And for this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan. So what ended up happening is Jeroboam, this nigga said that, okay, so y'all not finna be going back down to the south, going to Jerusalem, going to the masjid down there, and basically y'all gonna end up basically getting back under the original, kingdom and rulership of the throne of Solomon through his son. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put these 2 gold calves up here in the north, and y'all gonna go and worship there. And these are the same gold calves that got our forefathers out of Egypt. So you're going to notice they always use that bullshit excuse about the golden calf, the Christmas tree that these niggas finna be putting up next month. They always use that as an excuse of this is what got our forefathers out of Egypt, which is a lie. That never got them out of bondage. You know what I'm saying? That's what put them in it, like that mindset, So it says that, okay. It says, and he made an house of high places and made priests of the lowest of the people, which were not of the sons of Levi. So remember, he made priests of the lowest of the people. So he made niggas that weren't even intelligent and wise priests. Because remember, like the priests had to come from the Levitical line. But they were down in the south, I believe. So he was like, well, I'm going to just find some random Israelite niggas, like how y'all see these random niggas on YouTube just, talking about information like they these scholars. But back when they was in middle and high school, y'all weren't even good in history class back then. Y'all weren't even good at science back then. So how the hell you good at it now as a 20, 30, 40, 50-year-old man? No, nigga, like this shit start, like the building blocks start way back then. You niggas ain't even have no books in y'all book bags back then. But now y'all calling yourselves scholars and all this shit. No, y'all them same low-level niggas like Jeroboam when he made them priests and stuff, but they were really the shake of the bad. They were the litter of Israel, the ignorant of Israel, the naive of Israel. They weren't the learned people. The learned people were really all in the South. They really was studying and stuff like that. They probably were just the people that, like how brothers be at the barbershop and regurgitating what they hearing each other saying, but they don't got no sources and no books or no none of that. That's how the niggas in the North was, So you see, it's the same shit today. So basically what ended up happening with that is that, the kingdom, it never came back together. Let me see. I mean, there's a part in here where it says it, but ultimately, the North and the South, they never got back together. Eventually the Assyrians came in. The Moorish or the dark-skinned Tontan indigenous Assyrians, they came in and sacked the people in the north. And then, of course, you had the Babylonians under Nebuchadnezzar. They came in the south and took out Jerusalem and Judah. Okay. And since then, the Israelite people, both the north and the south, they've been scattered throughout the so-called 7 continents, under various names and nations, under various so-called religions, and a lot of them have forgotten their original ethnic national origins. And a lot of that is because, that divide in the fracture of the kingdom. All right. So let me see what time we got. We're doing decent on time. So the last thing I want to read is this, and this is very, very important because another thing we have to divide ourselves from is this certain mindset on when we're not keeping things real and we being hypocritical. And one thing that I'm seeing is that like the hypocritical mindset of a lot of these brothers that's living the street life, and that's acting like they don't understand that path of destruction life. One thing about it, man, is that I've always been a multi-dimensional, multitask type person. And back in my school years, elementary, middle, and high school, I was primarily involved in 3 things. I was involved in my schoolwork because I was very, very intelligent and wise, and it was very easy for me, and I excelled at it and performed well. I was involved in sports and basketball in particular, and I was also involved in certain street activity, and more in the area of violence, not necessarily for economics, but more in the area of violence, fighting necessarily. And I can tell you that, when you in the streets and you live in that life, you consciously are aware of what you're doing. And that certain things come with the game. And one of those things that come with the game is death. When you out there playing with sticks and eventually somebody gonna get hit. And that's just how it go. And it's unfortunate when somebody either part of your circle or somebody when they get killed, but you can't be hypocritical and all of a sudden want to start crying and saying Black Lives Matter when one of your friends or family members get killed. It's like the whole culture and the whole game and system itself of that whole street life and just brothers out there, either killing over gang sets, certain neighborhoods, or whatever the difference may be, whatever the divide may be. Once again, still the divide of House of Judah and Israel. But it's all for naught. And it profits you not. And it's all vanity as well. And the prophet Solomon, in his elder years, when he started making a lot of his mistakes and he looked back on his life, he started to see, the areas where he went wrong. And he put a lot of his wisdom in his books, such as, the Songs of Solomon, Ecclesiastes, and his other books in the Bible. So it's a part here that I want to read because a lot of people that I hear them say, like when a brother get killed in the street, because it was a shootout or some other gang activity or whatever, they'll say things like, oh, well, God took him and it was God's plan and all that. Well, let's see what Solomon thought about that. So we reading right now in Ecclesiastes, starting at verse 8. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient in the spirit is better than the proud in the spirit. Be not hasty in thy spirit to be angry, for anger resteth in the bosom of fools. See, I was a fool when I was out there in the streets. I was using the streets as more as like a playground to express my anger, because that was the primary emotion that I liked to play with, because I had a lot of personal turmoil in my life going on in my middle school years, So I used violence as a way as an outlet. But that was a foolish thing, you see, because it led to a lot of fucked up situations. All right. So it says then, wisdom is good with an inheritance, and by it there is profit to them that see the sun. For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. And wisdom ultimately is something that you use to make good choices as well. And it profits you great. Okay. So once again, the choice of seeing that, all right, this is a destructive behavior that's not going to get me no money. That's going to basically end up getting me killed, or it's going to get me locked up in prison, or somebody my that I love, it's going to get them fucked up. And this is where we're going to get ready to end it. In the day of prosperity, be joyful, but in the day of adversity, consider. God also hath set the one over against the other, to the end that man should find nothing after him. All things have I seen in the days of my vanity. There is a just man that perished in his just righteousness, and there is a wicked man that prolongeth his life in his wickedness. Be not righteous over much, neither make thyself over wise. Why shouldest thou destroy thyself? I'm going to repeat this because this is about to get deep. He said, be not righteous over much, neither make thyself over wise. Why shouldest thou destroy thyself? Now listen to this part. Be not over much wicked, neither be thy foolish. Why shouldest thou die before thy time? Let me repeat that. Be not over much wicked, neither be thou foolish. Why shouldest thou die before thy time? So ultimately what Solomon is saying here is why should you die before your time? A lot of you young brothers out there that's getting slain and shot in the head and all that and dying at 15, 18, 20, 25, 30, 35 years old. This is before you all's time. The higher self didn't put us here to just be here a short period of time and die. He put us here, for a long time period. That's why the physical body is designed to get old. That's why you see old people around and stuff like that. That's what we were brought here to be old and achieve a lot of things. So a lot of that street activity and stuff, when a lot of those brothers die, you die before your time. Like that one, a lot of that stuff that wasn't even their destined time. You know? So a lot of that is not God Most High that wanted that person to die at that time. No, that's just the result of something that they was doing. And it's unfortunate. And it's just the harsh truth. You know? So we seeing the divide of Israel and Judah, right before our eyes. And we just got to see what side of the field we on, and make good choices. But y'all just kind of meditate on what we've been talking about, man. Stay tuned. I'm out.